He wasn't supposed to be there. The shooter didn't aim for him. But the moment Elijah stepped between them, fate began a countdown that would come full circle a decade later. One man, one bullet, one choice that refused to die. 10 years later, it came back knocking, and this time, it wasn't mercy that followed. The gunman's hand was shaking. One wrong move, and someone was going to die. Elijah Brooks didn't move. No badge, no vest, just a night guard with a cheap flashlight and a heartbeat that wouldn't stop pounding. The woman he'd never seen before stood frozen by the counter, eyes wide, chest heaving. She whispered one word he couldn't forget. "Please." The man in the hoodie stepped forward, gun trembling. "Give me the bag. Now." Glass shattered. Screams. And then, silence. Elijah's world tilted. Heat in his ribs. Blood on his hands. He hit the floor, staring at the flickering ceiling lights. But before darkness took him, he saw her face. The woman. Alive. Crying. He'd saved her life. What he didn't know is that 10 years later, that same woman would find him again. And she wouldn't come alone. He thought the story ended that night. But fate doesn't close its books that easily. This is the true story of Elijah Brooks, the man who took a bullet for a stranger, and how, 10 years later, that stranger returned with something no one could explain. Every night, long after the last guest checked in and the lobby lights dimmed to a polite gold, Elijah Brooks began his quiet patrol of the Silvercrest Hotel. To most, he was invisible, just another uniform, another face under the brim of a security cap. But to Elijah, every shadow held a story, and every echo of the marble floors reminded him that silence could be both a comfort and a curse. He had worked this same post for 7 years. 7 years of watching people arrive with laughter and leave with secrets. 7 years of holding doors open for men who wouldn't meet his eyes and cleaning up the fragments of other people's lives left behind. Broken champagne flutes, forgotten cufflinks, lipstick-stained glasses. But that night, that ordinary, rain-soaked Thursday, would be the night his story turned from forgotten to unforgettable. Because sometimes, the people you least notice are the ones who end up changing everything. Elijah didn't hate his job. He respected it. It gave him structure, and structure was something he'd learned to cling to after the accident, the one that took his brother, Chike, 5 years ago. Since then, the night shift had become his quiet refuge, the only place where the world's noise couldn't reach him. But grief doesn't leave just because the clock keeps ticking. Sometimes, it hides behind the hum of fluorescent lights and the shuffle of polished shoes. And tonight, as he looked out through the glass doors at the rain falling over Lagos Business District, Elijah felt that familiar ache again. He whispered a short prayer, rubbed the worn wedding band he still wore for comfort, and began his round. "Lobby clear," he muttered into the radio, moving to West Corridor. He didn't know that a few blocks away, a young woman was running through the same storm, clutching a folder soaked with rain, her phone out of battery, her breathing uneven and frantic. Her name was Clara Daniels, and fate was about to place her path right in Elijah's. But for now, Elijah's world was calm, predictable, the way he preferred it. He checked the stairwell, noted the flickering light bulb that maintenance still hadn't fixed, and stopped by the reception desk where Ola, the night clerk, was half asleep with an earpiece tucked into his hoodie. "Still awake, soldier?" Elijah teased gently. Ola laughed, barely opening his eyes. "You know me, Chief. Coffee and gospel podcasts, my secret weapons." Elijah smiled faintly, tapping the desk. "Stay alert. Rainy nights make people restless." He said it half as a joke, but something about the way the thunder rolled in response made the air heavier, like the night itself was listening. Upstairs, room 509's TV flickered. News coverage about a finance scandal involving a local company called Dunhill Group. Elijah caught a glimpse as he passed by the open door, a woman in a sharp suit being escorted through a crowd of flashing cameras. He didn't recognize her face, but that same woman was Clara Daniels, and by morning, her world would implode. At 11:42 p.m., Elijah's routine brought him to the service corridor near the west exit. It was a quiet space, the kind of silence that pressed into your chest, where every sound felt too loud. He paused, hearing footsteps echoing faintly outside. Probably a guest who'd taken a wrong turn, he thought. But when he opened the side door, a rush of cold air and rain hit him, and through the downpour, he saw a figure staggering toward the entrance. A woman, soaked, shivering, clutching a folder like her life depended on it. "Elijah to front desk," he said quickly into his radio. "We've got a guest in distress at the west entrance." He hurried forward, umbrella forgotten, jacket already drenched. The woman collapsed just a few feet from him, papers scattering in the puddles like torn feathers. He knelt down, helping her up, his voice calm despite the panic rising inside him. "Easy, ma'am. You're safe now. Come inside." She looked up at him, eyes wide with exhaustion and fear. "Please," she whispered, "don't let them find me." And that was the moment Elijah's quiet life began to unravel. Because in a city that never sleeps, no act of kindness goes unnoticed, not forever. Elijah carried the woman into the lobby, her clothes dripping, her breath shallow. Ola jumped to his feet, startled by the sudden chaos. "Sir, what happened?" he asked, eyes darting between Elijah and the trembling stranger. Elijah laid her gently on one of the lobby couches. She collapsed outside. She said someone's after her. "Call the manager and get her a towel." The woman's hands were shaking as she clutched that rain-soaked folder. She didn't let it go, not even for a second. Elijah noticed the red stamp on the cover, Dunhill Group Confidential. He recognized the name from the news earlier. And suddenly, that flickering headline he'd seen upstairs didn't feel so distant anymore. "Ma'am," Elijah said softly, kneeling beside her, "you're safe here. Whatever's going on, no one's getting to you tonight." But her eyes told a different story. She kept glancing toward the glass doors, as if expecting them to burst open at any second. "Please," she whispered again, "if anyone asks for me, tell them I'm not here." Before Elijah could respond, a gust of wind pushed the doors inward, and two men in black suits stepped into the lobby, dripping rain, their expressions unreadable. Ola froze. Elijah's instincts sharpened. "Evening," one of the men said curtly, flashing a badge. "Private investigators. We're looking for a woman who just ran in here. Mid-30s, brown coat, carrying a folder." Elijah stood slowly, positioning himself between them and the couch. "Sorry, gentlemen. Haven't seen anyone come through. But you're welcome to check with the manager in the morning." The taller man squinted, eyes flicking toward the corner where the woman was hiding behind a pillar. His tone cooled. "We won't need to wait that long." For a moment, the entire lobby seemed to hold its breath. Then Elijah spoke, voice steady, firm. "I said come back in the morning. It's a private property tonight." The shorter man scoffed. "You don't know who you're protecting, friend." "Doesn't matter," Elijah said quietly. "I know who I am." It wasn't bravado. It was conviction, the kind that comes from surviving enough loss to know what truly matters. The men hesitated, exchanging a look, then stepped back toward the door. Be careful who you trust, one of them muttered before leaving. Sometimes the hero's the first to fall. When they were gone, Elijah turned back to the woman. Her eyes were glassy, filled with tears she was trying hard not to shed. "Thank you," she whispered. "You just put yourself in danger for me." Elijah shook his head slightly. "No one deserves to be hunted like that. You can explain when you're ready." She nodded, wiping her face. "My name's Clara. I used to work for Dunhill Group until last week. I found something I wasn't supposed to. They framed me. I've been running ever since." Elijah listened quietly, his mind piecing things together. The scandal, the police investigation, the woman on the news. And now, she was sitting right here in front of him, cold, terrified, and clutching evidence that could burn a corporation to the ground. Sound cue. Thunder rolls, faint hum of city traffic outside. Ola spoke nervously. "Chief, if they come back." "They won't tonight," Elijah said. "Lock the side entrances. I'll stay with her until morning." He helped Clara to a small staff lounge near the back hallway, away from security cameras. There, under dim fluorescent light, she began to talk. Clara had been a compliance officer, one of those quiet professionals who noticed patterns no one else saw. But 2 months ago, she discovered falsified expense ledgers, millions laundered under ghost subsidiaries, signed off by board executives. When she confronted her manager, she was silenced, demoted, isolated, and finally, threatened. "They told me to disappear," she said softly. "So I did." She opened the folder, its pages filled with photocopies, handwritten notes, and a USB drive taped inside. "This is everything," she whispered. "If I get caught, they'll destroy it." Elijah studied her face, the exhaustion, the sincerity, the quiet desperation. And something in him stirred, the same instinct that once pushed him to shield his younger brother from trouble, long before that night on the bridge. He didn't know why he cared this much. Maybe it was guilt, maybe redemption, or maybe because in a world that forgets the good, some people are still meant to stand between right and ruin. "Get some rest," he told her. "We'll figure this out in the morning." She hesitated. "Why are you helping me?" Elijah smiled faintly, eyes distant. "Because someone once helped me when I didn't deserve it. I owe the world one good deed." Clara didn't press further. Within minutes, exhaustion claimed her, and she drifted into uneasy sleep. Elijah sat nearby, keeping watch, the steady hum of the rain his only company. He didn't notice the black car idling across the street, or the camera lens pointed at the hotel window. By dawn, the rain had stopped. But for Elijah Brooks and Clara Daniels, the storm was just beginning. The city was waking up. Car horns echoed through the mist. Newspapers hit doorsteps, and street sweepers pushed the rainwater into drains. But inside the hotel, the night hadn't ended. For Elijah Brooks, it had just shifted form, from rain to reckoning. When he looked into the staff lounge that morning, the couch was empty. The folder was gone. Sound, footsteps, door creaking open, distant chatter of cleaners. "Clara," he called. No answer, just the soft buzz of the flickering light. He felt a twist in his chest, part worry, part instinct. People vanish every day in this city, he thought, especially the ones who know too much. He checked the security feed. Every camera on the east side was dead. Static, not by accident. That's when he saw it. A black SUV parked across the street. Same model from last night. Its engine was off, but someone was watching. He didn't have proof, but his gut, the same one that had once saved him in darker days, whispered, "They're still here." He called Ola. No response. Checked the front desk. The phone lines were down. He wasn't sure who to trust anymore, the hotel staff, the suits, even Clara. Because when the game is survival, truth often comes last. He searched the back exit, and that's when he found it. A torn corner of the folder wedged under the door. A message scribbled on the paper in shaky handwriting. "They found me. Don't call the police. Trust no one." He read it twice. Then, slowly, he exhaled. Not fear, resolve. Elijah had lived most of his life running from ghosts, of loss, guilt, and the night he almost ended it all. But this time, he wouldn't run. This time, he'd face it. He grabbed his jacket, pocketed his old phone, and stepped out into the pale morning light. He followed the trail the only way he knew how, through questions. The street vendors, the cab driver who'd parked outside all night, the newsstand man who saw everything. Piece by piece, he built the story. 2 men in suits. 1 woman in a brown coat. A scuffle. A scream. Then, silence. Someone had taken her. But not far. Because in a city like this, shadows don't hide, they trade. By noon, he reached the old Dunhill Tower. The building was sealed off after the corruption scandal, but he knew someone still kept the lights on inside. He pushed through the side gate, moving slow, careful. The hall smelled of dust and memory. Each footstep echoed like a ghost returning home. At the top floor, the executive suite, he heard faint movement. Then, a voice. Weak. Strained. "Elijah." It was Clara. He found her in an empty office, hands bound, bruised but breathing. And across the room, the same 2 men from last night. "Should have stayed out of this, old man," one of them hissed. But Elijah didn't move. He'd seen death before. He'd felt the barrel of despair pressed against his soul for years. And that made him fearless now. "Let her go," he said quietly. "You don't want to do this." The man smirked. "You think you're some kind of hero?" Elijah's eyes didn't waver. "No, I'm just tired of seeing good people bleed." The silence broke with a single move, a chair crashing, a struggle, a gun clattering across the floor. Gunfire echoes, metal clang, heavy breathing, chaos. When it ended, Elijah was on the ground again, his shoulders searing, his breath ragged. But the men were gone. Clara crawled toward him, tears streaking her face. "You're hit." He smiled faintly, the same way he did 10 years ago when he took a bullet for a stranger. "Deja vu," he whispered. "Guess I haven't learned my lesson." She pressed her hands against his wound, trembling. "You can't die. Not now, not after this." He looked up at her, the woman who had carried danger to his door and unknowingly given him something far greater. A reason. They escaped through the back, just as police sirens filled the streets. By the time they reached the hospital, Elijah was unconscious. And by morning, he was gone. At least, that's what the hospital report said. But truth has a strange way of surviving. And sometimes, survival itself hides behind shadows. Because a week later, a man with a limp and a healing wound walked quietly into a police station, carrying a single folder marked Dunhill Group Confidential. He placed it on the desk, said nothing, and walked away. The scandal that followed shook the city to its core. Executives arrested. Funds recovered. The victims compensated. And the woman who started it all, Clara Daniels, vanished from the public eye. Until one day, a foundation appeared. The Brooks Daniels Foundation for the Forgotten. No one saw Elijah at the opening ceremony. But those who knew him said he never cared much for applause. He was somewhere quieter, helping a boy fix his bike, helping an old neighbor carry her groceries, writing names on donation envelopes in a handwriting only he recognized. Because for Elijah, redemption was never about fame. It was about peace. And for the first time in decades, he felt it. Not the absence of pain, but the quiet presence of purpose. In a city that forgets, one man's courage remembered itself. And the woman who once ran from darkness learned to walk toward the light again. Their stories didn't end where they began. They met halfway, where fear and faith found balance. Sometimes the world doesn't need heroes, just people who stay. Because every storm that tries to break you is only clearing the sky for someone else's sunrise. And so it goes, morning birds faintly. City hum, the distant hiss of traffic. The world moves on, as if nothing happened. In a city that moves too fast to notice its own heartbeat, Elijah Brooks disappeared quietly. No news story, no obituary, just silence. For most people, that's how stories end. But for Elijah, silence was just another beginning. He walked again, slower this time. His limp heavier. His chest still carried the ghost of the bullet, but something else had returned. Focus. He didn't go home that day. Instead, he walked back to the very store where his life had nearly ended 10 years before. The shop was closed, boarded up. A faint graffiti read, "Heroes fade. Hope doesn't." He stood there for a long time, breathing the dust of his past. And when he finally spoke, it wasn't to anyone. It was to himself. If I made it through that night, maybe it wasn't to live. Maybe it was to give. He started small. Every week, he volunteered at the community shelter, sorted food, cleaned tables, listened. And that's where he met Father Odu, an old priest with eyes like glass and a voice like gravel. The man noticed Elijah's limp and the way he avoided small talk. One evening, as they stacked chairs, he said, "Sometimes the ones who try to save others forget they need saving too." Elijah smiled faintly. "Some of us don't deserve saving." Father Odu chuckled. "Then why are you still here?" Elijah didn't answer. But that night, he stayed longer than usual. Clara Daniels, meanwhile, was fighting her own ghosts. After the foundation launched, the pressure was suffocating. The media wanted her face. Donors wanted her story. But the truth, the fear, the guilt, she buried deep. Because every time she closed her eyes, she saw Elijah's face the night of the robbery. The blood, the smile, the question, "You okay?" For years, she tried to pay that debt through charity, but money couldn't erase memory. So she decided to find him. She searched police records, hospital files, old news clippings. Nothing. It was as if Elijah Brooks had evaporated after that night. Until one evening, she got an email from a volunteer named Odu. A single line. "He's here. He's helping." Attached, a blurry photo of Elijah serving soup to a homeless man. That was enough. She went to the shelter. He didn't see her at first. He was laughing with a child, a sound she'd never imagined from him. When he turned and saw her, time stopped. For a second, they were back in that convenience store, her shaking, him bleeding. Then he smiled. "You found me." She nodded, eyes wet. "I never stopped looking." They sat outside that evening, under the dim light of a broken street lamp. Rain threatened again, but neither moved. She told him about the foundation, how it grew, how it saved lives, how it carried his name. He listened quietly, eyes on the horizon. "I didn't do it to be remembered," he said. "I did it because it was right." She reached into her bag and pulled out a letter, worn, folded, but unsealed. "It was for you. I wrote it years ago, but I never sent it." He unfolded it. Inside were just 3 words. "You saved me." For the first time, Elijah cried. Not from pain, but from release. Because in that moment, he realized redemption isn't given. It's recognized. They began working together, quietly, behind the scenes. No cameras, no press, just 2 souls mending what the world broke. The Brooks Daniels Foundation grew, sponsoring shelters, protecting domestic abuse survivors, and funding therapy for trauma victims. Every story they saved became a thread in their shared redemption. But peace has a cost, and fate always demands balance. Late one evening, Elijah returned to the foundation office alone. A faint ache in his chest had become sharper over the months. He ignored it. He always had. He sat at his desk, reading letters from families the foundation had helped. Then, his phone buzzed, Clara's name. He smiled faintly. He'd call her tomorrow. He never did. They found him the next morning. Head bowed, hands clasped, a faint smile still on his lips. The man who once lived in shadows had finally stepped into the light. Clara wept, but she didn't crumble, because Elijah's story didn't end there. The foundation doubled its reach. They named a new initiative after him, the Courage Project. Its mission, to train everyday citizens in conflict intervention, safety response, and trauma recovery. In a single year, over 2,000 people were trained. Lives were saved. And at every seminar, Clara would say, he wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a cop. But he was the bravest man I ever knew. Years passed. The city changed. New faces. New stories. But somewhere, on a quiet street corner, a boy once helped by the foundation stopped to give his sandwich to a hungry man. He smiled and said, "Someone once told me kindness never dies." And just like that, Elijah's legacy continued. Not in statues, not in streets named after him, but in actions, passed from hand to hand, moment to moment, like a quiet light that never burns out. They say courage is rare, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's hidden in the simplest acts, the ones no one sees, from people the world forgets. Elijah Brooks was one of those people, and for every life he touched, he became proof that gratitude can bloom even in the ruins of loss. Sometimes the world repays you not with riches, but with peace. That was Elijah's reward. Elijah Brooks never became famous. He never made headlines again, never chased glory, and never asked for recognition. He lived the rest of his life the same way he always had, quietly, gently, and with purpose. But inside that silence lived a legacy, because every person who walked through the doors of the Brooks Jensen Foundation carried a piece of his courage with them. Every meal served, every hand held, every tear wiped away. They were echoes of that single night, when one man chose compassion over comfort and bravery over fear. Sometimes the world forgets the names of its heroes, but their kindness, their choices, ripple far beyond what we can see. And if you ever walk past a night security guard, or someone the world overlooks, remember, there might be an Elijah behind those tired eyes. Someone who's already given more than you'll ever know. Because real heroes don't wear capes. They don't ask for thanks. They just show up, even when no one's watching. If Elijah's story touched you, share it. Someone out there might need to hear that kindness still matters. Thought Balloon, leave a comment below. Tell us the last time a stranger's kindness changed your day. We read every single one. And if you believe in stories that heal, inspire, and remind us what it means to be human, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Because somewhere out there, another story like this is waiting to be told. And maybe next time, it'll be yours.